Hello, everyone, and welcome to the How to Be a Boss Dealmakers, Deciders, and Disruptors Roundtable panel. I am super excited to be here with you today. My name is Nicole Walters of Inherent Learning Company. I'm a CEO of one of the top digital business education firms, and I'm excited to be here with these powerful women. I mean, the panel that we have here today is phenomenal. The conversation we're going to have here is going to be impactful, and it's my hope that our time here together is going to be transformative. Now, to introduce you to our incredible ladies that we have here today, first and foremost, I want you to meet Lori Silfen. Now, Lori, you are clearly in a bright and sunny place. Tell us, where are you, and a little bit more about your work with MGM.
Okay, I'm in California now, Beverly Hills. I am a New Yorker, though. I will always be a New Yorker, so yes. There's that. Just here for a little while. No, I'm kidding. So I'm at MGM. I run music at MGM, and that's we cover film and TV, scripted, unscripted, and that's what I do.
All day. I love it. And guys, I think you're going to recognize that this is going to happen a lot, where we start off talking about, it's like, this is just what I do. And it's really common that once we start living in our purpose and our passion, doing impactful work every single day, that it starts feeling like the norm. But don't worry, I'm going to dig into it. We're going to get the gold. Okay, we're going to get the gold. Now, Joe, tell us a little bit about where you are and the work that you do with Verizon, please.
Excellent. Thank you for having me. So I'm in Manhattan, in Battery Park City. I'm sort of a New Yorker for about 15 years, but you may notice that I'm really from Australia.
Sure.
I'm actually the head of consumer at Verizon Media. Verizon Media is made up of AOL and Yahoo. You may recall some acquisitions a few years ago. Originally, we were under the brand Oath, and probably about 18 months ago, rebranded ourselves to Verizon Media. I lead about 20 brands, including Yahoo, TechCrunch, Makers, Riot, AOL, just to name a few. And we serve about 900 million unique customers every month across the globe. So super excited to be here and talk to you all.
We are so grateful because, I don't think I've ever been able to put 900 million people on hold to come chat with me. I know that I exfoliate. I know that I have wonderful eyebrows, but you guys have places to be. So thank you for taking the time. Joe, thank you for being here with us. Kim, tell us about your work with AMC Networks. Where are you, and what do you do? Formal title.
Sure. I am also in New York. I'm in Manhattan. I'm at home, probably along with everyone else. I am the president of commercial revenue and franchise development at AMC Networks. So AMC Networks is AMC, BBC America, IFC, Sundance, and WeTV. I've been here about a year and am absolutely loving it. And Joe, I have to throw out, I'm a huge Makers fan. What a great brand to run.
The best. So impactful, so fresh, and so right on time, I think, for the current world climate. So we appreciate the work that you do. And I think that that's a great transition, since Kim, you've been there for a year, and Joe, you're kicking off this, amazingly impactful and highly visible brand through Makers. Tell us a little bit more. Oh, and just in time, we have our other panelists, because guys, this is about boss ladies. We are all busy. We are all heavily scheduled. Debbie, I'm so glad you are here. And my gosh, you look fantastic. Your layers are doing everything. And we all know right now with pandemic, you get bonus points for that. Okay,
Thanks. I was like racing to get here, so I'm glad I made it.
No, you look wonderful. Thank you so much for making it. Now, Debbie, we just finished introductions. Tell us where you are, and of course, the work that you do with Loeb and Loeb.
Currently, I'm in Hermosa Beach in California. I am working out of a home office, away from home, because I am a New Yorker and I'm usually in our New York office. But I decided I needed to get out of New York for a little bit because I've had some interesting, as I'm sure we all have. So I'm recovering from an ankle injury in California, working very strange hours with clients in Korea and China and Australia and London. So I really don't know too often where I am or what time zone I'm in. So I was just glad that I could be here and be with all you fabulous ladies. And so I'm an entertainment lawyer at Loeb and Loeb. For those of you who don't know me, I am a partner, and I specialize in music, endorsements, licensing. I represent a lot of companies. I represent a lot of bands and talent. But I'm also on the corporate side doing a lot of licensing and sales and purchases of catalogs and pretty much everything in entertainment.
I love it. And guys, this is quite the panel. If you have any interest in entertainment, if you are an influencer looking to cross over, or if you've said to yourself that you want to be part of one of the major pillars in this industry, this is the perfect place to be. As someone who is recently branching into the entertainment world with my new show that was recently picked up by USA Network. So it's going to be coming out soon for those of you guys who are watching, called She's the Boss. And it's going to be coming out at top of 2020. I am beyond excited to sit with all of you. It's also very clear that I'm a Southern girl. I was born in DC, realized that it was not my energy. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, but it's great to be with all these New Yorkers dressed in all black while I'm here in my bright, sunny yellow with a big bow, because of course. So I can't think of a better way to transition. So ladies, tell us a little bit about your story. And I would love to kick off with Lori here. How did you fall into the work that you do? Because I think that so many of us will find ourselves stopping, pursuing certain paths because, maybe it doesn't match with our degree, or do we have the right credentials, or do we need to go back to school a million times? And only to find out that the people we admire most, the Joes, the Debbies, the Kims, and the Loris, got into their work in the most interesting way, circumstantially. So I'd love to hear more about that. Did you plan all this from day one, or how did you end up where you are?
Okay, well, my dad's an entertainment attorney and music attorney. So I grew up sort of in the business with, around artists. That was, we snuck into the Academy Awards, like when I was like 6 or 7 with one of my dad's clients. So it was fun growing up. And then I went to school in Georgia. So
Sure.
in Atlanta. And then so I ended up wanting to always be in the music business or entertainment, business. And I was at one of these charity dinners with my family. My dad had bought a table and he had invited a few clients. And one of the clients was a record label in Australia called Mushroom Records. And by the end of because I really didn't know, I had gone to law school after college, and I always wanted to be in music, but I didn't know how I was going to get. And I ended up at that dinner getting a job there wasn't even a position, but it was created at this record label in Australia. And 3 months later, I was in Australia for the next
Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. What I love about that story is I think that now more than ever, a lot of women are finding that we're ending up doing work that we didn't even exist when we were younger, so it maybe some version of it. Like, I want to be a lawyer, or I want to be, famous, or I want to be on a show or something like that. But, never in a million years would I have said I'd run a digital consulting firm, that is multi-million and helps thousands of people, but I don't have, I have one tiny office. I haven't met half of them because they're all engaging in my products online. Couldn't have said that when I was younger, but here I am, and so I think that that's just the same thing. You kind of had an idea and then you pursued it as the opportunities, came up. So Joe let's hop to Australia because that's where Lori left us, so tell us, Joe, how did it work out for you? Did you, grow up in Australia saying to yourself, this is certainly what I'm going to do. I'll move to New York for 15 years.
Not at all. And actually, I think that probably the best lesson that you learn is most careers are not linear. And I've certainly taken a couple of pivots. So I actually started my career actually in Brisbane, Australia, after I did a Bachelor of Business in Communications. I started in actually public relations and corporate communications. I was working there for a number of years. I was working at American Express actually in Sydney. For a couple of years, and then had a really great opportunity. I had one of those great, we call them skip level meetings with my boss. come down from New York. He came to Sydney. He sat down across from me. At the time, I was 7 months pregnant. And I was sort of feeling like I wasn't going anywhere. And I said, hey, forget this. Just so you know, I'd be actually willing to move anywhere in the world if an opportunity came up for me to take on more responsibility. And this was the first lesson that I had, really in terms of making a career move. One was I was pretty clear about the fact that I was happy to move, even though I was pregnant and married to someone in the Navy at the time. And then ultimately I moved about 8 months later to New York, which was fantastic, into a corporate affairs role. And then it was a number of years later, actually, that I had my second big career pivot, which is how I actually ended up in the business, which is a leader at American Express basically, challenged me to leave corporate communications and move into the business. And in about 2009, I actually moved to take over a particular business unit's head of strategy and product and ultimately design as well, which was a pivotal point in my career where I moved away from what I thought I was going to do for my whole career and made a big pivot. So that's how I ended up here. And that's also how I ended up in, into the business. And then it was only about 3 years ago that I got a call from Verizon Media and took that great big plunge away from, actually I'd always worked in financial services and payments, and took the dive into the media industry, which has been great too.
I just love this. And for the ladies that are watching, I hope that you guys are picking up that one, these women are accessible, down to earth, and sharing their stories in the realest way. And I hope that, even though we, I think we have a tendency to put amazing, accomplished women like you on a pedestal, we're realizing that your stories are very relatable. That the thing that I'm really picking up from what Joe's sharing here is that a couple of things. The first is that you really followed a traditional path of kind of trying different corporate jobs, and just kind of learning what I can along the way, but also really being very clear about stepping up and saying, I want opportunities. What do I need to do? And asking the people around me, what are the steps what are the tools and resources I can apply? Because guess what? I've got the work ethic. And that is something that I found, growing up, my parents were both African immigrants from Washington, D.C. So my dad drove a cab for 40 years and my mom was a secretary at a boating insurance company. So, my dad's driving around buildings in D.C., lobbying firms saying, you can have your name on one or you can clean the inside of one. Which one is it going to be? Well, he actually said it like this. You can either have your name on the outside of a building or you can also clean one. That's how he said it. So I completely aligned with getting into corporate and asking for opportunities because he didn't know what to do and being willing to show up and chase them. So I got to know then, Kim, is that how it worked out for you? Were you chasing an opportunity or, were you kind of following the path and then seeing how things turned out?
I'm from a town of 300 in Wisconsin, very rural Wisconsin.
Amazing.
I was very far from this business, very far from media. I don't think we had cable. I don't think they ran cables to my town. It was very small, but I loved magazines. And I don't know if it was.
What was your favorite? You have to tell us. What was your favorite?
Oh, at the time, I'm talking 14, 15. I think I loved Mademoiselle and Glamour and I just Vogue. I loved them all. And I papered my walls with every image, half of them ads, not even realizing they were ads because they were so beautiful. But no, I loved media from the start, and I grabbed the first opportunity I could. I was what is now called a administrative assistant, but back then I was the secretary, and took the first job I could at a startup called Elle Decor, a home furnishings magazine, and just loved it. And 27 years later, still find myself in media, like Joe said, and like Lori said, had some pivots along the way. I've worked in many corners. I've worked in digital media, publishing, and now in television. And, as long as you can kind of keep learning and growing and leaning in, I think that opportunities present. So,
that's incredible. I love this because I again, it can sometimes feel, at least, I don't know if other women watching this now, but sometimes it can feel like, you guys are fancy pants. You know what I mean? Like how did you get here? Because you guys are busy, you're on the go, you have it together, right? Like we all have it together. At least that's the appearance that the world, sees on the outside. I know you guys are all wearing sweatpants and leggings. We don't have to say anything about it. We know how it really eyebrows, right? Right. But the reality is that you come from a small town, and who would have thought that you're much like many of the women who are listening right now, who may be listening from their small town and saying to themselves, how do I get out? And it isn't about saying, oh, I'm staying in my small town, hoping I make it big on YouTube. It isn't necessarily about I make it in my small town, hoping that, I get discovered. It may be that I take that tiny opportunity that seems kind of small, but I work hard, I keep showing up, I pay attention, keep my eyes peeled for an opportunity, and then when it comes, I take it and I keep moving. Well, that is so valuable, and I love it. Now, Debbie, I've got to ask, attorneys, but my husband's an attorney. His father is, a cantor at a synagogue, but also an attorney, a federal judge. So I say all this to say, Debbie, how'd you become an attorney? Did it run in your family? Do you have a bunch of attorneys in your family? Or was it something you were like, I'm going to break out and do my own thing?
Definitely don't have any attorneys in my family.
I love it.
My family are more athletic or creative, I would say, than I am. And I really, when I was growing up, I always loved performing and singing. And then there was one year in the camp play that I didn't get the lead, and I was the good witch instead of Dorothy, which is fine. But I pretty much realized that
I'm over it.
I'm a little over it, but I still am a ham, and I'm not, as people know, I'm a bit of an extrovert. So I kept doing the school and the camp play. I decided that I would study really hard, and I went to law school and became a total geek and put my head in the books and graduated with honors and wanted to be in entertainment, but it's impossible because everybody wants to be in entertainment, or I should say a majority of people coming out. And so I had to go to a corporate law firm for about a year until a headhunter called randomly and said that this premier boutique entertainment firm was looking for someone with corporate experience. So I interviewed with them for about 6 months while I was at my real corporate law firm job, working 20-hour days and trying to keep it all together. And then I finally got the offer, and they pretty much offered me 50% of what I was currently making at the fancy corporate firm. But I really wanted to represent talent and companies that were involved with talent, and I took the job and made the plunge, and I was at that firm for about 9 years, mostly stepping up and agreeing to represent talent that was unmanageable, and it became sort of my specialty. So I'm not going to divulge names, obviously, but if I had to give anyone advice, I think my thoughts were, I knew what I wanted to do at the end of the day, so I did take the pay cut and work my tail off. And when other people didn't want to deal with the unmanageable, so to speak, I found ways to help generate revenue through licensing and other opportunities for these unmanageable acts. So, and then I got an offer from Loeb, I think now 11 years ago. And so here I am. I guess it turned out okay.
It turned out very okay.
So.
And yeah, I think so for sure. And I think that anyone listening is picking up that, there's an element of sacrifice that has to happen, whether it's leaving your small town or, taking an opportunity at a table that you weren't expecting, or moving across the country, or taking a giant pay cut that you often aren't going to get where you want without giving up where you are to some extent. But that's exactly what growth is all about. And I also love the story of, not necessarily fitting in with what your family wanted. I am the daughter of African immigrants. I had 2 job choices, a doctor or a lawyer. And here I am with a show on USA Network. My parents are toxic. They can't keep it together. But it's okay, though, because, at the end of the day, they have something to be proud of, I'm pretty sure my mom the other day told a friend of the family, she knows Oprah. I'm sure she knows Oprah. I don't know Oprah. but my parents are quite proud, to say the least. So I say all of this to say that, we're learning so much from what you guys are sharing here. There are just so many little gems in each of these stories. But we've talked about where you were. Let's talk about where you are. So you guys have, big roles that you've earned over time, in these positions. But I know for a fact, I've walked into these boardrooms. I worked in corporate America for 10 years. There just aren't a lot of women, and there aren't a lot of minorities, and there aren't a lot of marginalized groups. And the tide is changing. It's turning. I think we saw a lot of that happen this summer when some of the conversations around inclusion were really elevated. I want to know, you've really had to, in each of your stories, kind of build tables for yourself, just build a space for yourself. Now that you're in a position to do that for others in a male-dominated world, what do you guys keep in mind? And sort of what would you encourage women who are saying to themselves, I know these opportunities are starting to happen. How do I get them? Let's start with Lori.
I think you just really have to persevere and just, if you're determined, it'll happen. I mean, it's like, I've grown up, this business has always been male dominated, and it's, I know Deb, it's like when you have to stand out, and you have to just, like I've worked at companies where it's mostly, like mostly men in the senior management, and it's, you just have to, get a footing and don't leave there. And you got to be a player, and you have to, I'm fortunate now at MGM. There's a lot of women in senior roles now, so, which is amazing. And it also, it helps when the chairman of, let's say, the film group, he's enabled, he's the president, he picked a president he brought in a president who's a woman. Then we've also started like Orion Classics, which, is relaunched within MGM. It was a label. And he brought in, Alana Mayo, this another, woman. Our general counsel is a woman. So it's just, there's a lot of, I'm at a company right now where there's a lot of women in senior roles, and it's great.
I love that. It sounds like there's a lot of intentionality that's really being put into making sure they're not just seeing the talent, but that they're placing them in places where they're highly visible, not just for the rest of the company, but to put out the message of this matters to us, and you're welcome, and the opportunity exists here, which is tremendous. So Kim, where you are, with AMC Networks, I mean, there's an opportunity in different ways, whether it's strategic partnerships that you guys have, as well as within the company, and also from individual mentorship. I know that each of you, as somebody who's been a beneficiary of women in high positions, I'm sure you guys have had great words, for the women who've worked around you, if they've had questions, things like that. So Kim, how are you finding yourself within your role doing strategic partnerships, helping women around you? What opportunities do you look for?
Sure, it's a great question. I feel like the one thing I just say, and perhaps it's relatable to everyone on the call and everyone listening, you just have to be open and keep learning. I feel like the reality of the last several months, it certainly isn't escaping any of us. And I think that what it did is it really opened my eyes and threw me back, not only to the books, but into conversations and recognizing that, you can be a fairly successful manager for a long time, but what you realize is you still have to work at it. You still have to work to become better and better and stay relevant to how the world is evolving for the better, and be the best manager you can in today's world. I'm thrilled. AMC takes it very seriously, and we've just hired our first DEI lead for the company in Aisha Thomas Pettit, who I'm so excited to partner with and learn from. But I feel like it's what Lori was just saying is also very relevant. For me, it was about taking these kind of bold roles, and you just put yourself out there. I had the opportunity to become the first woman to run Sports Illustrated, and that was a very intimidating transition in my career at the time. And I remember thinking to myself, and actually having conversations with people saying, can I do this? And of course, I finally just had to shut up and do it. Just go.
So good. Put it on a t-shirt, somebody. Kim says, shut up and do it. Yes, absolutely.
I really agree with what Laurie said. You just have to dive in and do the work and give it everything you have. Be your most authentic, true self. Keep learning. And I feel like it comes together.
I love this. I mean, besides shut up and do it, I'm hearing the energy of do it afraid. It's not like you women are out here saying to yourself, oh yeah, no, it's not scary to try something new. It's not scary to raise my hand and I'm perfectly confident. And it's not that. It's that I'm doing these things while scared, while unsure, while, testing it out, while jumping into the opportunity, but it's worth it. And above all else, what I got from you, Kim, there is that, be prepared to hear no, because that's going to happen, but you can stand on your nose until you reach your yes. So that's really, really powerful, Joe. So, you obviously have, a pretty expansive reach, within Verizon Media in lots of different areas. And I've noticed, especially within the Verizon Media suite of the services and opportunities, that they're really trying to be intentional about diversity, inclusion, and really elevating marginalized groups, even creating dedicated platforms that focus on that. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that is, why that's important, and where you see it going?
Yeah, I think it's really important to us because we want look, I'm excited about Verizon Media for a couple of different reasons. I'll start here with one is we are a big global player, but we're a big aggregator. So we work with a lot of different partners. And because of our scale and because of this great partnership and this relatively small layer of original content that we keep unique to ourselves, we're able to, be a trusted provider of content. And what we really strive to do is make sure that we are reflective of the audience that we're serving and reflective of, of the global community. So we've actually, you mentioned before, Makers. Makers has been a great brand for us. Since 2013, Makers has been championing women, showing progress. You may have seen the Not Done documentary just recently released with PWS. This is a great brand that's, trailblazing and sharing where we're at in the movement and what we need to do next. We also have some other younger brands like Built by Girls, which connects, young middle school, high school and college-aged girls to, people in their careers, maybe in their early, mid or later careers, so that they can see what's actually even possible out there in the world, like what jobs are out there. Because, if you don't have parents with, fancy jobs or worldly experience, then you may not actually know what's even available to you. So we've got brands like that. And then more recently, especially this year, we've been very focused even internally on things like, with racial injustice. We pulled together with both partners and our own content around our Black Lives Matter hub, which again allows us to really, be at the forefront of making sure that we're telling the right stories. We've started doing some new things this year, actually, as you mentioned before about learning and evolving, every brand now has a diversity and inclusion plan. We are tracking our audiences to make sure that we are serving diverse audiences. So, it's great for us. It's great for both internally in terms of having employees that represent, society and represent all of the underrepresented groups. But also, most importantly, it's great that we actually have a platform that can reach and tell stories that perhaps some, that aren't necessarily being told at scale. So
yes, and not only is that incredible, but I hope that everyone listening is realizing that it isn't just about in your personal life, being a great example, helping support women, but if you actually are aspirational in the roles that you're in now and aiming to do more, you're positioned like Kim and Joe and Lori and Debbie to be able to leverage the platforms of the companies that you work for to drive them to pay attention to the issues that matter most. So, when it's difficult to raise your hand with that brilliant idea or ask to stay a couple minutes later to work in a new division, you may not just be doing that for yourself, you're also doing it for others. You're opening the door for women behind you. So, this is absolutely tremendous. And Debbie, I have a question for you, and I kind of want to pivot. It's a spin off of this one, but your job is to be an advocate. And I think that a lot of women always, we may struggle with advocating for ourselves, whether it's because of society or the environment that we're in. And I would love to hear how you have managed to be an advocate to make sure that, the women that you represent, even if they're difficult clients, are getting equal, support and recognition for the work and the talent that they bring to the table. Because as I have an entertainment attorney myself, and she's a pit bull, and I love her, and because of the fact that African American women are known for, being paid less and not receiving as many opportunities and not getting the same visibility. So it's important for me to have a representative that's aware of, those disparities, but is also an advocate for me. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you do that in your work, knowing what you're up against, but, really trying to make sure that people are getting an equal opportunity, as well as some tips that people can use in their own life to make sure that they're getting an equal opportunity?
I mean, I've always questioned everybody and everything.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I had to become a better listener. So I think, just from always questioning and never just accepting what someone told me, and then keeping that as sort of, I don't take no for an answer, and then maturing and realizing that I need to stop and listen to the audience and take in information and really educate myself instead of just being that pitbull that's going to get this done. I really tried, and I'm still trying, because I don't think anyone's perfect at this. I tried to sit back and open my ears and read as much as I could about what's going on in the world, and not just be angry or defensive that certain people aren't getting what I think is fair. Whether it was myself or my clients, I feel that as I would open my ears and educate myself so that I was just as smart, or maybe even knew more than the people I was negotiating against, that's when I was able to make some big strides for women and African Americans. I represent a big Korean band that I took on 4 years ago that no one really, cared. So I think really educating yourself and surrounding yourself by people that you can rely on. I've stayed at Loeb now for quite some, because we do have certain experts in areas in which really matter. I mean, I think it's important, especially now, to have someone who is an expert in employment laws and can tell you, guild and union issues, and can help with revising contracts to make sure people aren't, taken advantage of in studios or on sets. So, a combination of learning and being surrounded by, people who are educated, and making sure you're educated is really the only way, in my opinion, you're going to get the best for your client. Rather than just banging your hand on the desk like some of these old fuddy-dud guys do that we know. That does not work.
I love it.
Not anymore, thank God.
Not anymore, right? So
not anymore. It did for a long time, but that's
right, but not anymore, right? And that's so good. You're making such a valid point. I think that a lot of times we're like, what are you going to do? Are you going to cry about it, or are you going to do something about it? And it's like, first of all, I'm going to do both. I'm going to cry about it first, and then I'm going to go do something about it. And I think that, Debbie, you're making a great point. It's, staying level-headed and remembering, of course, this is business. And we are here because, not because we were invited, but because we earned it. So if we're already at the room, let's not question our place at the table, but let's use our resources to figure out how we're going to get ahead. I'll never forget the time that I asked, bravely, in the moment, it felt particularly brave, my boss, who was 2 steps removed from the CEO in corporate America, and I said to her, I'm really thinking about going back to school. I really want to get this next position. I feel like if I had an MBA, that would do it, and and I just really feel like this is the right path. And it was kind of scary to say it to her, and she said, well, that's dumb. I promise you that if you got an MBA, that you would just end up with more debt. She was like, oh, you're not going to get a promotion anytime soon. There's, she was like, I'm going to be honest. There's a hierarchy here combined with the amount of time. You'd still need to work on this, and this before we'd even consider you. And honestly, if you do those things, you might never need the MBA, and I was like, really? And here I am. I was going to march down a whole path. And she was like, she told me very clearly, if you want the thing you want, instead of crying at your desk about how you didn't get the chance, come and ask for the way to find the path forward. Find the person who looks like you, or find the person that is where you want them to be, just like Debbie said, and ask them what's fair. What do you see out there? Question everything. Be inquisitive. So powerful. You guys are just sharing all the gems. I mean, this is truly tremendous. Joe's got something. Oh, Joe, add to that, please.
No, I was just going to say what you just said then was is something that I think is really key, which is your boss gave you said constructive feedback. And I think
it hurt, but it's true.
It does, and sometimes it does hurt, but I think that's one thing that I think is really fundamental to continue to develop and grow, and being brave enough to go and seek that feedback. Because the one thing that I think sometimes people find it very difficult to share constructive feedback. So you really actually have to drag it out of people, but you were fortunate to have someone who said to you, hey, this is what you should do, and these are the things, by the way, you need to work on, which I think is fantastic.
I think that's such a great point, and I would love to, before we start wrapping up, I just want to cut it just quick yes, no around the table. If any female in your company were to come to you, catch you in the elevator, knowing that, hey, I work in the mailroom or I'm just an assistant, and ask you a quick question for quick constructive feedback, would you say no, Debbie?
No.
Or would you just give them the feedback? Would you say no, Lori? You give them the feedback. Lori, what about you?
Give them the feedback, yeah.
Joe, what about you?
Always give the feedback.
And Kim, what about you?
Of course.
So I want you guys to understand, when you're watching this, that feeling inside of you that says, whether it's imposter syndrome that you don't deserve to be here, or just the sheer fear that if I go up to this person, they're going to be like, why are you talking to me and who are you? Odds are they're going to give you the feedback and the support because at some point in time they were in your shoes. And it's somebody that looked just like them, just like these women here, helped them get ahead. And so we want to help each other, but both the opportunity lies within you, and then taking those first steps and the action on that feedback also lies within you. So I want to wrap up with the question that I think is on everyone's mind, particularly in the land of pandemic, right? We are trying to balance all the things. We are trying to manage all the things. And the reality is I'm a big believer, and I have 3 kids, adopted girls, ages 21, 18, and 9, sisters. And my 3 girls are driving me crazy, right? It's pandemic season. They are driving me nuts, but I still have to balance my business. And I've pretty much learned that balance is bogus. There's always going to be a ball on the floor, and I need to be okay with it and grant myself some grace. So I want to know, ladies, you have other lives, right? Outside of work, I hope. So tell me, we'll start with Kim. What's your quick one-liner tip, on how you keep things level, how you keep yourself healthy, happy, and whole?
I do the best I can. I keep meeting.
That's right.
Dog keeps barking, and my son is supposed to be controlling him right now. And I think you said it well, Nicole. I think you have to forgive yourself. There's a lot of bumps along the way. You got to just keep moving through them, recognize, do the best you can, and then forgive yourself for what doesn't actually go your way. I think that the whole notion of being able to have it all, do it all, I liked your line, there's always a ball on the floor, but you just got to pick it up or switch it out with another ball once in a while and keep going.
So good, so good. Debbie, I'm going to jump over to you. What is your one thing that you're doing right now to help keep some balance, or what's your truth about it? Is it even a thing?
I'm not a great example of the work-life balance, to be honest. I work a lot.
Ditto.
Crazy hours, and I'm just trying to be honest to people who are listening, or
that's the truth. We need to hear that,
Being honest, I work a lot. So and I work very hard. So for people who this has come easy to, or got a good gig, and God bless. But for me, it's very difficult. I'm just, again, being honest, to balance everything. I'm listening to somebody who's vacuuming. I don't know what's side of the door, and I don't even want to look. But I think for me, I'm trying to get out of the house, and that's one of the reasons I'm now out of my apartment in New York City. I needed a change of scenery and to get some perspective, so I don't go totally insane. And because you can get addicted to this Zoom, and everybody, I'm on the cell phone, they're Zooming me now. But before, I could put my head down in my office and disappear. And now, it's everybody's here. So for me, it was, I think, a change of scenery and just to try to change things up a bit.
No, I love that. I mean, I think that there is some value to everyone hearing that, you know, because we come from the world of social media life, right? Where everyone is balancing a laptop on their way too skinny knees with a beach off in the distance. That's not real life. Do you know what I mean? Let's be honest. It's not real life. You know, no one is paying you for not doing work. So whether you work for yourself or a company, be prepared to put in those hours. And you know, that whole myth of, you know, just it all coming together with you being able to be home and get dinner on the table. No, there will be many a time where you are going to miss the mark. You will disappoint someone or you will disappoint yourself. And knowing how to grant yourself grace, and what Debbie just said here is, you know, listen to yourself and say, what change do I need? What small space can I carve out for myself, you know, to give myself sanity while I do the work? So that's so good. Lori was nodding her head right away. Lori, I'm guessing you're a workaholic like the rest of us. So
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, but you love it.
I love it. I love it. So it's in my blood. But I will say that being at home, it's 24/7 work, because, you know, when there was the time between the office and, you know, going home, although I live pretty close to my office, but you don't have that. And it's not, there's not like, oh, I'm out for dinner for the most part, you know, unless you're outside somewhere, but it's more, it's just never, when you wake up in the morning and you're dealing with like London or, you know, whatever, it's right there. So I have felt that I've never worked harder than right now.
That is such an honest and almost sobering reality to hear from someone so successful, because, you know, you see these Instagrammers eating pancakes with their kids dressed in all white in their bed. Who does that? Right. That's not real life. You know, that's not how I'm starting off my morning. I'm starting off my morning with no bra on, hopping onto a Zoom, you know, and those people who want to be fancy and wear their bra and have their lives together, that's not. Okay, you know, like I'm a little bit of a hot mess, and I get it. And I think that what's amazing is that you are really emphasizing that we're having to find whole new ways to cope in this world, you know, and it may be shifting a new room. It may be working in the living room instead of the dining room. It may be telling the family, leave me alone for 5 minutes while I cry in the pantry. You know, like whatever it looks like, we are carving out whole new ways to function, because our old coping mechanisms with being workaholics, they just don't look the same. Can't just go grab a glass of wine, but we're doing the best we can in this season. So I think that's so valuable. And Joe, what have you got? I think this would be a great way to close this out and, you know, let everyone know the truth.
Yeah, doing the best we can is almost like a mantra in our family at the moment. I agree with my colleagues here in that it is 24/7, and actually since March it's actually gotten, I think it feels like it's 24/7 even more so, because now you can't get away. Not only are you Zooming, but everyone knows you're Zooming and they can text you and phone you and everything. You're multi-channel constantly as well, so I think it is very tough. It's actually something that I started, though, to carve out a little bit of space. I started something about 2 years ago, and interestingly, it was someone who I was a mentor or a sponsor to, who worked on my team several years ago, and she sent me a 5-minute gratitude journal. And it took me about 6 months to work out how to use it. And about 2 years ago, maybe 18 months ago or so, I started. So every morning before I do anything, apart from read my emails, obviously in bed, but once I get up and get my coffee, once I get up and get my coffee, I sit down with my journal. And actually it was great before, but this last 8 months, it's actually helped me to keep both personal sanity as well as professional. And the personal piece of it is just, you know, being grateful for what we have and recognizing the fact that there's a lot of people out there who are not as fortunate, and trying to keep some sort of realm of reality in place. But professionally, it also reminds me just to take that time and space, because if I want to be good at my job, or if I want to do something, or I need to transform, I need to create headspace to actually be able to get thinking and not get sucked into this 24/7, 15 channels at once environment. So it's simple, but I know it sounds very common now, but like it does every 5 minutes in the morning with the cup of coffee, and I'm at least set an intention for the day. If I stick to it or not is another thing, but at least I set the intention.
I just love this. I think that if there's anything that we can pick up from this powerful, dynamic conversation with these incredible women, it's the fact that intentionality matters, whether it is deciding to pursue a certain path, chasing after a new level that you want to aspire to, or carving out just 10 minutes a day, you know, at the beginning end and at the front end and the back end, to just be grateful for where you are, the progress you've made, that's really enough to kind of keep you going and get you where you want to be. So Lori, Joe, Kim, Debbie, thank you so much for giving us more than just 5 minutes in your amazing day and really pouring into us, serving so well. And, you know, from me personally to all of you, for being lights, you know, in each of your businesses where women can see you. You know, you're a lighthouse saying, hey, you can come to me. And I will help lead you, and I will help be an example. And, you know, I'm raising 3 girls that, you know, didn't have all the opportunities in the world. So I'm grateful for how you're using your platforms and your talents to create space for them and a world that they're going to be safe and powerful and impactful in. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone who tuned in today. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. There's a lot of great stuff happening. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.